Great to have you with us. Now, the Electoral Commission is immediately to operationalize Ghana's laws, allowing citizens residents abroad to partake in national elections starting from election 2020. The EC has also been given 12 months to ensure relevant legal instruments backing the election is put in place. This is the order coming from an Accra High Court that has upheld arguments by 5 Ghanaians based abroad that the EC has caused an infringement of their human rights by failing to implement the law. My colleague Joseph Akable is in court and joins us on the phone with more. Joseph, what more did the judge, Justice Anthony K. Yeboah, say?
So, Daniel, he examined the arguments as were presented by lawyers on both sides. Talk of the lawyers for the plaintiffs, the 5 of them, and lawyers for the Electoral Commission. Lawyers for the plaintiffs have told the court that 11 years after the law was passed, the EC had gone to sleep and had failed to take any steps whatsoever to ensure that Ghanaians residents abroad partake in national elections. So that was the main issue they put before the court, and asked that the court orders the Electoral Commission to begin steps to implement the 11-year-old legislation. But lawyer for the EC had argued that the EC was putting in place measures to implement the law and that they should not be compelled to do so. They had also argued that the court could not order the EC since the EC was an independent body. They also talked about some constraints the EC was facing. Talk about issues of finance, an issue of logistics and personnel, and also the burden that it comes with in terms of the entire electoral process. But Justice Anthony Yeboah in his ruling said that the EC had failed, and his reasons advanced. He described them as outrageous and unreasonable. He said the EC had consistently churned out challenges, saying that it has engaged in self-indulgent recitation of challenges rather than finding solutions to these challenges. In fact, stated that if the commission says it cannot find solutions to these challenges, then it means the commission was poor in terms of institutional capacity, and said that the commission could seek advice from elsewhere to implement it. On the issue of finance, which has always been topical, anytime any issue of raw power comes up, the judge held that Parliament, which passed the law, is the one that controls the national purse and approves budget of all agencies, including the Electoral Commission.
Right,
the Electoral
Joseph.
Commission, he said, yes.
Right,
Yes,
we just want to know what was the reaction of the EC's lawyers after this judgment was given.
The representative simply told the court that they were pleased with the decision from the court, but we are yet to get officially the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission comment on the matter.
What of the plaintiffs?
For them, it's one of excitement, saying that they have waited for a long time to have the commission participate in the polls. So
what does this practically mean for the Electoral Commission? You were mentioning earlier about the legislative instrument that has to be passed.
The Electoral Commission has been handed 12 months starting from January 1, 2018. They are to ensure that the relevant constitutional instrument is passed and put in place to enable Ghanaians living abroad participate in the 2020 elections. The court says if for whatever justifiable reasons they can't do that, 30 days to the expiration of that 12-month deadline, they have to come to the court and also publish publicly reasons why they cannot allow that CI to be put in place.
Right, thank you very much, Joseph Akable, for that update. Joseph was a man there in court. Now, Deputy Upper West Region's Chief Investigator of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Shraj, has advocated the establishment of a policy that will bar politicians from interfering in the execution of their mandate as an anti-corruption agency. Mr. Ziem believes the policy, if instituted, will go a long way to facilitate their work. This, he thinks, will be a strong demonstration of political commitment in the fight against corruption. Sebastian Ziem made the call at the climax of the International Anti-Corruption Day in Wa. Joy News' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
Concern about the seriousness of problems and threats posed by corruption to the stability and security of societies, undermining the institutions and values of democracy, ethical values and justice, and jeopardizing sustainable development and the rule of law. The United Nations Convention Against Corruption was passed on October 31, 2003. 9th December every year was therefore set up for the observance of the International Anti-Corruption Day. It is against this background that the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, in partnership with the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, (SHIRAC), National Commission for Civic Education (NCCE), and the Ghana Police Service in the Upper West region organized a float and media engagement to ensure nationwide commemoration of the Anti-Corruption Week. Addressing members of the coalition, Deputy Chief Investigator for Chirac, Sebastian Ziem, reiterated that the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice is the sole institution in the country mandated to investigate non-compliance or contravention of the provisions of the Code of Conduct for public officials.
The Commission is mandated to investigate all instances of suspected and alleged corruptions. This means that we do not really have to sit and wait for any particular individual or group of persons to inform us that there is anything like that going nowhere. We are supposed, by our mandate, to investigate, even upon suspicion or allegation. And this the Commission has been committed to doing since its inception. The Commission is further committed to educating the public of the evils associated with corruption.
Sebastian Ziem made several requests to some duty bearers in the country who Chirac believe, if adhered to, will help in their work.
We want to see political commitment of the leadership of this nation to the fight of corruption. 2, we want to see a policy of non-interference in the execution of the mandate of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. 3, we want the public to develop that moral courage to report corruption or corrupt practices to the appropriate institutions for investigations, including the Sharia. We're also asking all public officers to inculcate into themselves the tendency of behaving ethically at our workplace. Indeed, I will not comfortably conclude this our message without reminding all of us present of the principles of probity and accountability in the preamble of our Constitution.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam.
Back to Accra now, where poor attendance by MPs this morning has compelled the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, to suspend the sitting, a situation some members of Parliament are attributing to the NPP's Delegates Conference, which took place yesterday. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is on the line for us. He will be telling us, giving us an update of whatever has gone on. But we understand, right, Joseph, we understand that a sitting has resumed.
Yes, and so at the moment, Parliament is considering the budget estimates of the Ministry of Employment and Social Welfare. The Minister, Ignatius Burfwell, who moved the motion for the House to adopt the resolution so that then an approval will be given for more than 300 million cities to be allocated to the ministry next year. But earlier in the morning, when the House started sitting, there were just a few MPs in the House, less than 20 of them. The Deputy Majority Leader, Adjoa Safo, indicated that some of the papers that had to be presented to allow for approval of the budget estimates of the various ministries were not ready. And there were even concerns that some of the ministers who were supposed to come move the papers that were ready were actually not present in the House. And so eventually the Speaker suspended sitting for an hour. And a while ago, the sitting resumed, and they're considering the budget estimates of the various ministries.
How are the numbers now?
So I could just, from Treasury look, we have well a little over more than a quarter of total MPs in the chamber at the moment. There should be something in the region of a little over 70 out of the 275 that are expected to be in the House. But there is representation from both sides of the House, both majority and minority leadership, and some ministers are also present to get the business going. Now,
during the break, did any of the MPs, express their reactions to this suspension by the Speaker?
So the indication was that, again, they were looking at various work that's being done at the committee level. We got a hint that the Finance Committee, for example, were having a sitting as of this morning, which was one of the reasons why a lot of the members of the committee were not present on the floor at the time the sitting started. And so one of the other explanations that came up was that they were doing business at the committee level, which they had to quickly get that over and done with, so that then they would get on to do the other businesses. Well, some of the majority MPs have been attributing the situation to a lot of their colleagues being in faraway Kumasi over the weekend to undertake party business, particularly yesterday, which was how come a lot of them were unavailable as at this morning.
So this was the statement made by majority MPs that their colleagues were in Kumasi over the weekend, so they could not make it to Parliament this morning.
So yes, the explanation that's coming up, and well, all of that they say is part of the business of the members of Parliament generally that they are supposed to undertake. So that would have been expected to a certain extent. But then
they classified, Joseph, they classified yesterday's event as the business that members of Parliament have to take?
Exactly the case. And as MPs, they have allegiance to their party as well, even beyond what they need to do with the state. And so that is actually one thing that has to be taken care of. But they make the point that, well, the priority is that they are looking forward to getting the budget passed by the end of the week. And for them, they are very much on track to getting that, to getting that done.
Joseph, let me fall on your experience as a parliamentary correspondent. 75, about a quarter of the number of members of Parliament. Is that, on the average, a small or a large number for, what usually takes place in Parliament?
Particularly when it gets to around this time when budgetary estimates are being approved, there is usually a lot of that, I should say. Because around this time, the House would usually sit sometimes from morning until 6 p.m., 7 p.m., to get the necessary approval done. And there are occasions when there are as little as 50 members of Parliament sitting in the House. Sometimes there is a complaint that there isn't enough quorum, but even establishing that becomes a procedural thing, because if an MP raises a complaint about there not being enough members on the floor, then the bell needs to be rung on a number of occasions. A head count needs to be done to really come to that conclusion that really there aren't enough MPs on the floor. So then that becomes a long drag thing. So just around this time when budget estimates need to be approved, there is the explanation that at the various levels of the committee, they are meeting to get the approval done and bring their report to the House. So that would usually happen around this time, although usually the excuse is that there's other business at the committee level that needs to be undertaken.
Right, thank you very much, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, for bringing us that report from Parliament. You're also watching Joy News today. I am Daniel Daze. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Let's move on to the Joy News Let's Be Fair campaign. And today we bring you a playback of the story of a nursing mother in Pandai who is unable to breastfeed her baby due to poor nutrition. Jojo Kobna has more.
35-year-old Agnes is a peasant farmer. Her farm did not do well this year, so she helps other farmers who are the great TM to harvest rice so they can support her with food. Her husband died 5 years ago, leaving her with the burden of taking care of her 5 children. She tells me life is a real squeeze and sometimes unbearable because she cannot feed her children properly.
Is life hard for you?
Life is beyond hard. Sometimes I get very angry at life.
Now Agnes has 2 more children and has the responsibility of feeding 7 hungry mouths. I inquired why she had 2 more children when she could not take care of the 5 children. She dropped her eyes and did not answer my question. Rather, she laughed and told me she cannot disclose that sensitive information to a total stranger. But community health workers explained that when her husband died, she was inherited by the brother-in-law.
According to the tradition here, after the husband has passed away, another man from the family married her as second wife. But currently, as I'm speaking, according to her, the man is at Munahafo region doing farming activities with the other wife. And she's here with 7 children. Feeding has become difficult. So she's not able to get food to eat. And because of that, there's not enough breast milk for the mother to feed the baby, and currently the baby has become malnourished.
Culturally, her brother-in-law is supposed to give her security and also provide for her children, but he only succeeded in giving her 2 more children she cannot afford to feed. Her 11-month-old baby is severely malnourished, and health workers feel if he does not improve soon, he may be a statistic of under 5 mortality.
So this is not just due to maybe energy and protein, but also micronutrient deficiency as well. So within the red zone, that means the child is malnourished. The yellow zone means that the mother have to be careful to make sure that she feeds the child well, so that the child does not progress to malnutrition. And the green is normal. So we want to take the MWAC, the measurement, that is the upper arm circumference of the child, okay, mid circumference of the child. Okay. So the child is within the red zone, that is 9. It's 9 centimeters. The borderline is 11.5. So he has gone far below the 11.5 to 9 centimeters. So this child is a typical malnourished case in the district. At the 10th month, which is October, of the child, so the child weight was supposed to be between 8 to 11 kg, but the child is still lagging behind, as low as 3.9 kg. So this means that the child is severely wasted or severely underweight.
Health workers have referred her to Jrapa District Hospital. That journey is expected to last an hour, but she cannot go because she cannot afford the cost of treatment.
We pleaded with her to go to Jrapa Hospital to receive inpatient care. If she leaves to Jrapa, the other siblings that are at the house, there will not be anybody that will be taking care of them. And at the end, maybe probably she will come back and they will also be sick. So that's why she prefers staying with the other siblings and then the one that is malnourished. And then she's catering for all of them at the house.
Throughout the interview, Agnes laughs and giggles, so I inquired how come she smiles through such difficult times.
You think I'm happy, but I am worried. I'm tired of being depressed. I don't have time to be worried. Now I think about how to survive. I eat once a day, but I try to feed my children twice a day. My tears are finished.
Agnes has braced herself for months. Based on advice of nutrition officers, she has stocked beans for protein.
So in here, beans. Agnes has preserved the beans with ash so that insects cannot eat them. So I picked the corn from this bag. This bag contains maize that she has to rely on between now and December. What she eats after December is uncertain. And so that is the reason why she's worried.
She goes back to the farm to work, where she will be repaid with some food after the harvest. It is lunchtime, and Agnes and her family's first meal of the day. Food security in this part of the country is a real challenge. Many families here carefully budget the food they have. When they have low harvest, many children would have to brace up for harsh times.
One day, there was no food. We just had to drink water. It was not a nice experience. During lean season, my children lose weight. But for now, we are okay.
Poor yield means hunger. Michael's daughter became malnourished and lost weight.
We want to find out whether the child is severely malnourished and is qualified for the program. Green means that the child is normal. So the child has been on the program for quite a number of weeks now. So meaning that the child is recording some gains. Okay, so that is 13.5. So meaning that the child is okay now, it's normal.
One of the biggest challenges here is that many of these peasant farmers recycle seeds and have poor yields after replanting. At least this family is doing well, But Agnes has to face it all alone. She has not been captured under the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program.
Now, family of a 19-year-old student of Zwarungu Senior High School who died on Saturday is blaming authorities of the Upper East Regional Hospital and lack of equipment for her death. Brother of the deceased, Ibrahim Alaminu, tells Joy News his sister, Rukaya Ibrahima, was not given the appropriate care when she was taken to the facility on detection of her illness. Rukaya is the third student to have died in the Upper East region on suspicion of meningitis. Alaminu says health authorities were not proactive in dealing with such cases, especially as the Harmattan season sets in.
My sister complained that she wasn't well, so she was rushed to the Bosnia Regional Hospital. They treated her, they gave her drugs, all right. So the drugs was sent to the crew only to realize that the drugs was expired. So the following day, she couldn't send the drugs back. And the following 2 days, then he sent the drugs back. Then they do another treatment, which she was admitted. We were called, that was the day before yesterday, to come for her aid. Unfortunately, it was late, and yesterday in the morning, we rushed there. When we rushed there, they prevented us not to enter because there was a suspicion of cerebrospinal meningitis, that's CSM. They prevented us not to enter. They say only one person should enter. And the reason for this is that if all of us enter, and really it is the cerebrospinal meningitis, and breathe out, and maybe we can get infected. So only one person should enter. For them, according to the nurses, all of them, their noses were covered, and then even their hands were on gloves. So they say we should enter. And according to them, when I asked them, since the suspicion has been done since yesterday, is there any test that took place? Then they quickly relaxed and took a second, took her blood, and then they put it in one of the tubes to go for CSF test. So I went for the CSF test, and then they said I should pick another tube and come for the cerebrospinal meningitis test. So I quickly rushed there. So when I rushed, they said the cerebrospinal meningitis, this thing was not ready, the tube was not ready. So I collected the other test and sent it back with the drugs. So when I sent it back with the drugs, then the treatment was going on. But as the treatment was going on, I see my sister's condition, it was not getting better. So sometime to come, she was breathing every 30 seconds. She would breathe once, 30 seconds, she would breathe. By the time I realized fluid was coming from the nose and the mouth, I said, oh, this one here is just a clear cerebrospinal meningitis, because I work with one of the clinics which the education took place, that was just last week. And then they showed that some of the signs and symptoms of the cerebrospinal meningitis. So I just called the doctor. He quickly said I should rush for the cerebrospinal meningitis drugs. So I went there for the drugs. So when I went there for the drugs, I rushed to the dispensary. They gave me the drugs, all right. I sent it back. When I sent it back, my sister's condition was very worse. So there is nothing we could do. So they were pumping her chest, and then the fluid was coming out in the form of foam from the mouth, the nose, and everywhere. So they tried controlling it, and they couldn't. Unfortunately, on our part, then she passed on.
Our condolences to the family of Rukaya too, and may her soul rest in peace. Now in Ghana, over 5 million people live with a disability, making them the country's largest minority. They face a lot of social stigma, creating a culture of entrenched discrimination. However, one man wouldn't allow all that to affect him. Being personally deaf, he set up the Deaf Ministry at the Church of Pentecost to reach out to persons of his kind. Bernice Abubedu visited the church and reports.
It's a Sunday and many Ghanaians are on their way to church. Today I'm joining the Shalom Peace Assembly at Nungwa, a church for deaf people, one of the few in Ghana. There are about 30 worshippers today. Here, everything is done in sign language. With their hands moving in unison, members passionately sing their songs and dance, while some of their leaders who can speak sing along. It's now time to pray, and Joyce Edwajaman, one of the leaders here, is in charge. She speaks as she signs so I can understand. As I observe the congregation, I wonder where they would all be on a Sunday like this, but for one man, Reverend Reuben Wuni, who started the Deaf Ministry at the Church of Pentecost. So far, he set up 4 main branches and was recently ordained the first deaf pastor of the church after 27 years of preaching to members of the deaf community. His wife interprets for him at all meetings with those who can't sign.
When I was young, at a very tender age, I was in a Sunday school. I go to Sunday school. When I became deaf, then I started going to the deaf school. From there, I saw that there was no church. We have a lot of deaf people in Ghana, but there was no church. So I decided to start the deaf ministry.
It's just like a classroom setting as he delivers his sermon on love. There's a whiteboard with the title, scripture references and other details. He encourages his members to love one another. In this church, members have an opportunity to ask questions. It's very interactive. After 30 minutes, the sermon ends. The tithes and offerings are taken and the grace is said. It's been a message on love here today, but as members of this assembly move out into their various communities, do they feel loved by a society and its members like myself who know very little about how to communicate with them or even provide services tailored to their needs? Bernice Abubedu, Joy News, Accra.
The full version of that report airs on the Pulse at 3 p.m. today on the Joy News channel. Now, moving on, eat Ghana, drink Ghana, wear Ghana, be Ghana. These were the catchphrases that drew hundreds of people to the first ever national Made in Ghana fair. The fair, which took place last weekend on the Osu Oxford Street, is one of government's premier interventions to inspire Ghanaians to buy local products. According to the Deputy Trade and Industry Minister, Carlos Ahinkra, government is also considering enacting a law to compel state agencies to patronize products made in Ghana as part of efforts to boost local production. Apito Sebidi was there and filed this report.
From neck pieces to earrings, all you can get here at Warrior Africa. I'm here with Madame Deborah, and she's going to tell me more about her stall. So far, how's the event been?
Oh, it's been good. It's been really good, but just that the rain just came in for about a minute, but it's been good.
Good, okay. So did you get everything from your fabric to your materials here in Ghana?
Yes, of course. Yeah. I get everything. Everything here is local. I do everything here myself. Okay. Yes.
So now we've heard that they say made in Ghana products are very expensive. What is your take on that? How does your products range from what?
No, they are not expensive. I have a product as low as 10 cedis. Yeah. To 350. So anyone that comes here can get his or her own thing. Yeah, I have earrings, I have necklaces. If I statement necklaces, I have very nice things. And people come here and just ask for the price. They don't even ask for reduction because they think they see that my things are unique. You understand? Yeah.
Okay. And what's been a challenge of yours for making your product here in Ghana?
Challenge is maybe financial like money. Because of that, that's why I have for everyone.
Cocoa Delight is a product registered in Ghana that you can use to make instant cocoa. All you need to do is to pour in boiling water and your cocoa is ready to be taken. It comes in different variety. We have the spiced and the non-spiced depending on the variety you want.
So what challenges have you received from being here?
The only challenge we have received from being here is being able to tell our people to receive our made in Ghana products. It's like they get more convinced that international products are better for them, but we keep on telling them that locally made products are equally nice. And another challenge we have received is in the packaging. They always complain about the packaging, but I trust that as time goes on, we'll do better, much better.
Here with my crew.
Okay, so how's the event been so far for you guys?
Oh, everything is nice. We were not here in the morning, but as we come after the rain, we see everything that started with showers of blessings is, I think, positive. So I think everything is cool.
Yes, African power!
Eat Ghana, wear Ghana, drink Ghana. This is the Ghana Make Street Fair, and I am Apita Sibidi reporting for Joy News.
Definitely a colourful event there. Time now for business with Emmanuel Abajoyafi.